Okay, let's start all over.
Okay. Like I said, I wasn't here for the initial formation. When I moved here, I think it was in 2011. Uh, Being friends with Jerome G. Little, he asked me to join the MTL commission. And the story behind that is that the Tallahatchie Sumner Courthouse was in such a disrepair that it was about to be condemned, and that Mr. Little, and I think that he was the president of the Board of Supervisors at that time, he went to the legislators and was requesting them to help him to save the courthouse. And the story as it was told to me, that Senator David Jordan told him, I don't know why you asking me for money to save the courthouse. You're sitting on one of the most historical sites of the civil rights movement. And that's the site of the trial of Milan and Bryant. Okay? So from that, the legislators was able to earmark funds and to help him with saving the courthouse. And so it turned into not just to save the courthouse, but to say mark the significance of the death of Emmett Till. And from that, he became very enamored with talking to Mrs. Till, and from that he wanted to apologize to her because it had never been done. So it just took off from there. So it was not only just to save the courthouse, it became a personal mission for him, and he wanted even the president at that particular time, which was what, uh, right before President Obama, Clinton. He wanted Clinton and everybody to offer a letter of apology because no one had ever did it. So we were the first one as so the Emmett Till Commission was formed in order to save the courthouse.
Perfect. And you probably answered this a little bit, but you can kind of back. Who is Jerome Little? Who was Jerome Little?
Jerome G. Little. He was my husband's childhood friend. And when I became involved with my husband, they were very closely tied to their family. So they always came south. They always visit. And Jerome, he stayed here. Once he got out of the service, he stayed here. So he was working and doing things within the community. Like I said, he was my husband's childhood friend. When he got out of the service and saw what was done in other countries, he wanted to make a difference in his own community. So his family and my husband's family, they had to form and work
Hold on,
together.
stop. Sorry. You can start back over with his family and my husband's family.
Okay, his family, my husband's family, and some other of the community family members, Eddie Meeks, I think it was, and Robert and Charles Huddleston, and several other members of the community formed together to get the water rights for their community, which is called Goose Pond. Okay, and that's where the political bug bit Jerome. Okay, and that called him into action from that to fight for the water rights, and they fought and they won. So from there, created his political career. I became enamored with him because when we would come home and he would sit down and talk about things that he wanted to do. He created a company called Tallahatchie Housing, and Tallahatchie Housing was responsible for the formation and the building of Jerome, which is now called Jerome G. Little Manor, Oil Mill, Glendora, a set of apartments in Oakland, a set of apartments in Charleston. Okay, he went around creating economical living spaces. So that was his first job. Okay, then he fought and won supervisor. There's many different things, and Jerome was awesome. He talked about he didn't want to become a senator or a president, but he did want to see his name wrote down as one of the candidates. And I just thought that was just so inspiring to see how passionate he was. And he was very passionate about his community. So who was Jerome G. Little? The person that's responsible for me still sitting here, because after that I made the decision to move here because I'm not from here. Okay, but I brought my husband back home, and then ever since I've been here, he always surrounded himself with people that did things. He didn't know how to work a computer, but he surrounded himself with people that work computers. With me, that if I got involved with something, that I would always work hard.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. That I was passionate, and he took me around with him. So he asked me to join the MTL Commission. So what I can say about who was Jerome G. Little, he was one of the founding fathers and the big motivators behind everything that you see here in Tallahatchie County for the betterment of his community and around the MTL.
So why did Jerome Little think it was important to tell the story of Emmett Till? You can wait till that truck leaves.
It was important to him because he might have been 5, 6 years old, I think. At the time of Emmett's death, he played in the courthouse, and as a child, he wasn't aware of the significance of it. But as he got older and got more involved in the political scene, and when he went to try to get funds for the court to save the courthouse, it kind of just inspired him. I guess it was just his life path, okay? Because he became very passionate about it. He wanted to offer a letter of apology to Mrs. Till, but she died before he could do that. He did meet with her, and he made some kind of promise to her, and I don't want to say exactly what that promise was, but I know that he was very passionate about seeing some type of justice on the death of Emmett Till, but wanting to use it as a catalyst to make a difference, within his community. And as a board of supervisor, it's about bringing the money into the county and saving his constituents the expense of restoring the courthouse or even of saving the courthouse. Because if he had put a $3 million tax hike, he wouldn't have been in office too long. So that was his mission.
Thank you. Okay, and briefly, what was your experience in the photo documentary project?
In the photo documentary project, I acquired some skills that helps me take better pictures right now, and I've kind of always been a person that look beyond things, because I'm a person that when I'm watching the news or when I'm watching programs, I watch the eyes and the nose. I'm always a detail. I'm looking at the background of things, the furniture and everything else. So my experience with it allowed me to tell the story of Daphne Neal, okay, which was very proud to do, because I knew her struggle. I was there all 3 times that she ran for the circuit clerk's office, and for the 2 times that she was disappointed and did not obtain it. And by her obtaining it, I wanted to tell that story, and because I admire her strength, and I admire the strength that we all take, and especially women, and for her to become the first African American and an African American woman to hold that office, it meant a whole lot to me. And the photo documentary project gave me more ideas, and I want to see it go further with me and without me.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think this is the last question. How have race relations improved in Sumner or Tallahatchie or nearby?
I feel like I'm in a unique position because I lived 51 years in Chicago. I lived in and around Skokie and Cicero, and I came here and I have a different perspective on it. I recognize prejudice. I recognize the path that some people and the roles that some people play. But as long as I am respected, and as long as you understand that I wasn't born, bred, and raised here, so I'm a little different person than your average one. I'll tell you this story. When I got here, we got some horses, and my horses got out. Okay, and I went and looked, and I found my horses. I found my horses at a white lady's house. So on the morning that I went to get my horses, my husband was very adamant about I couldn't go to the front door. Okay, and then when Patrick got married, my husband was very uncomfortable that I parked in front of Mr. Michener's house, because my husband's father worked for Mr. Michener, and they also lived on the Michener plantation at one particular time. So it's a different experience when you've been trained, to make certain allowances. And so in the mindset of some, it has not changed because the mentality of the individuals have not changed. Whereas I grew up with a white godmother. I grew up going to dinner with white people, so I'm different. He was raised to have an extra respect for Mr. So-and-so and Miss So-and-so, and he had a respect for not going to the front door. So people seem to think that it's changed. I think that it has not changed. It just works on a different vibe, on a different level. Okay, you have to accept and live in the times in which you're living in. I've come up on some instances where I know what I'm seeing is 1955, but because of who I am and what I bring to the table, they can't bring it to me like that. So, but you got a lot of older people, and the younger people don't understand it, and they're not even aware of it, of the different climates and the different atmosphere and the things that are said. Since I've been here, I think that there is a newfound respect for African Americans in the community a little bit more, because of the strides and the struggles and the progress that they've made to become those first-time mayors, those first-time board of supervisors, those first-time president of boards of supervisors, to see the road department to be mostly black rather than all white. So there has been some changes, okay, and the chapter hasn't ended yet. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, and now one more, because we cut it off, we started over, so you can just say your name and who you are again.
Okay. My name is Jessie James Deming. I live in Tutwiler, Mississippi. I lived in Chicago for 51 years, and I brought my husband back here to live. And I've always seemed to be involved in some kind of community program. So I'm very passionate now, and I work for a betterment of my community. That's who I am. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.